false rape accusation by my ex almost got me kicked out of Army. In May 2016, I finally asked out Kate, the girl I'd been crushing on for 3 years. Started off with a simple coffee date. 3 dates later, we were officially a couple. And for a while, things were honestly perfect. We connected on almost everything: movies, hobbies, humor, even how we viewed the future. We were open with each other, emotionally and physically, and it made our relationship feel effortless. We both had decent-paying jobs, so we'd treat each other, often little getaways, dinners, gifts, just because. Even our families got along. At that time, I genuinely thought she might be the one. A few months into our relationship, in early 2017, I got accepted into the Armed Forces Reserve program as a combat engineer. Basic training would last from February to late April, and I knew it'd be the hardest thing I'd done so far. There were days I wanted to quit, days I genuinely doubted I'd make it through. But Kate kept me going. Her encouragement over texts and calls, her excitement when I earned my certificate, it all felt like I had someone truly in my corner. When she hugged me after graduation, proud tears in her eyes, I believed we were unshakable. That summer, I had to leave again, this time for advanced training. 400 kilometers away, from June to August, Kate was fully supportive, she told me, to go chase my future, even though it meant we'd miss most of the summer together. But that summer broke me in ways I didn't expect. I didn't click with anyone. Was the odd one out, the butt of every joke. My self-esteem tanked. I started shrinking inward, avoiding social interaction, clinging to her words for comfort. When I got home, things didn't go back to normal. Kate said I'd changed, that I wasn't fun anymore. I wasn't spontaneous or talkative or upbeat. I took things too seriously and didn't want to go out. She said I was distant. And the truth was, she wasn't wrong. Without realizing it, I had developed serious social anxiety. I didn't even recognize myself, and it was affecting our relationship. As we neared our 2-year anniversary, sometime in 2018, a small misunderstanding exploded into a full-on argument. We both said things we didn't mean. Just like that, it was over. I was heartbroken. But 3 days later, she texted me, saying she wanted to try again. We didn't see each other in person for another 3 weeks, but we stayed in contact, slowly patching things up over calls and texts. When we finally got back together, though, something had changed. It felt fragile, like I was constantly walking on eggshells. Every conversation felt loaded, and that only made my anxiety worse. Things that used to be easy now felt tense and awkward. Still, I tried to hold on. Then came the final blow. There was this guy named John. He and Kate had met at school, and she said he was just a friend, someone who helped her through our breakup and listened when she vented. I didn't think much of it. I trusted her, or at least I wanted to. One night I was supposed to stay over at her place. I got there and saw John sitting on the couch with her, just hanging out like they lived there. She told me he had stopped by, unannounced, and was about to leave. When he did, she immediately turned cold and distant. No kisses, no cuddles, just silence and short replies. At some point that night, I asked her how she felt about us. She said, "What I already knew, that we were over and it wasn't working." We agreed to break up, but she insisted I stay the night since it was late and she still cared about my well-being. But from the moment she said that, she was glued to her phone. She angled it away from me, locked it every time I looked over, and got defensive when I asked who she was texting. She said it was private. That was weird. Kate had never hidden her phone like that before. When she eventually fell asleep, I gave in to the gnawing feeling in my gut. I knew her passcode. I unlocked her phone, and there it was. Hundreds of messages between her and John, laughing at me, mocking the way I talked, calling me pathetic, talking about how excited they were now that she was finally single and could be with him openly. It wasn't just betrayal. It was cruelty. I cried silently beside her. At least I thought. It was silent. She woke up and realized what I was doing. She screamed at me, furious that I'd gone through her messages. I didn't argue. I couldn't. I just gathered my stuff and left. Her voice followed me down the hallway, shouting insults, slamming doors. When I got home that morning, I collapsed into my bed and sobbed. I called in sick to work and barely moved for the rest of the day. But as bad as that night was, it wasn't the worst of it. That came the next day, when I started getting texts, angry ones from her friends, from her family. They all said the same thing. How dare I? How disgusting I was. How I had forced myself on her the night before I left. She told everyone I had assaulted her, that in one last attempt to get some, I had crossed a line before storming out. She said she didn't press charges because she didn't want a circus and wanted to be the bigger person. I was stunned, terrified. I thought I was about to be dishonorably discharged, that my reputation, my job, my life were all over. Every day I waited for a call from the authorities or from my unit, but it never came. She never filed a report. Just spread the rumor like wildfire, letting it scorch everything I had left behind. It felt like I had died and someone else was walking around in my body. I was just waiting for the next blow to land, and that's when I realized if I wanted to survive this, I had to think long term. For weeks I lived in quiet panic. I didn't leave the house unless I had to. I ignored calls unless I recognized the number. Every knock at the door sent my heart racing. Was it the police? The military? Did someone finally believe Kate's lie and decide to act on it? I replayed every second of that night in my mind 100 times, always coming to the same conclusion. I didn't do anything wrong, but that didn't matter. In the world we live in, just the accusation is enough to destroy someone. I was one of the unlucky ones with no way to defend myself. No one wanted to hear my side. At the time, I didn't tell anyone what was happening, not even my closest friends. I was too ashamed, too afraid they'd believe her. Part of me still cared about Katat, at least the version of her I thought was real. Day by day, that feeling started to rot, and it was replaced with something else, rage. I had spent nearly 2 years building a relationship I thought was special. I sacrificed time, energy, and emotional stability to make things work. I pushed through some of the hardest moments of my life with her voice in my head telling me I could do it. I trusted her with everything, and this was what I got in return. A lie that could have ended my life. For months, I walked around like a ghost. But then, 5 months after that nightmare, something unexpected happened. Kate messaged me. Her tone was soft, polite even. She asked how I'd been, said she had been thinking about me. Eventually, she got to the point. She apologized. Not for cheating, not for humiliating me, but for the lie. She admitted it. She told me in writing that she had made the whole thing up, that she'd felt cornered after I left and didn't want her friends or family to know what really happened. She said accusing me gave her control over the narrative, but she reassured me she would never take it to court and hoped I could understand. Of course, she also made it clear she'd never admit any of this publicly. It would ruin my life, she said. I stared at the message for a long time before I responded. I told her I forgave her. That was a lie. What I really did was take a screenshot. And when she kept talking, I kept the conversation going. Every message she sent, every word, every confession. Damn. Every passive-aggressive jab I saved it all, because that was the moment I decided she wasn't going to get away with. Over the next 3 months, Kate started weaving herself back into my life. Not in any romantic sense, but emotionally. She would message me randomly, usually when her relationship with John was falling apart. She'd vent about how he was selfish, how he didn't listen, how she missed the way things were with me. She'd hint at regrets, at what could have been, at what we had. Then, predictably, John would do something sweet or say something charming, and she'd ghost me. Then I'd see the social media posts. Suddenly, she was back to her usual tactics, mocking me online, bringing up old fights, painting herself as the victim while I was the abuser who couldn't let go. Her friends would chime in, echoing whatever version of reality she had created that week. Every post felt like a slap in the face. I never responded, but I kept saving. This cycle repeated itself like clockwork. Kate complains about her failing. Relationship Kate reminisces about our better. Past Kate disappears when things improve with John. Kate publicly trashes me online. I say nothing and gather more receipts. It happened 3 times. Each time felt more hollow, more bitter, more exhausted. But somewhere in all that darkness, a small part of me stayed focused. I knew what I was doing. And I knew exactly what I was going to do when I felt like I had enough, when I had collected every screenshot, every message, every lie, got to work. I printed copies of the worst ones. It's the ones where she admitted to lying. The ones where she laughed at me. The ones where she played the victim while confessing privately. I put them in manila envelopes, dozens of them. Then I made a list of people, her parents, her grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins, childhood friends, professors, bosses, co-workers. I didn't stop at names. I found mailing addresses. No explanations. Just the screenshots, labeled and ordered, clear enough that anyone reading them would know exactly who they were from and who they were about. Then I mailed them no return address, no messages, just the truth. The fallout came fast. Within 3 weeks, I started getting messages. Some were short, just as simple, "I'm sorry for what I said," or "I had no idea." A few stood out. One was from her childhood best friend, who had torn into me online the day after Kate's accusation. She apologized. Said she felt sick reading the texts and couldn't believe she'd defended someone who could lie like that, but the message that stuck with me the most came from her parents. They said they were deeply sorry, that they were ashamed of what their daughter had done, that they had raised her better than this, and they begged me not to pursue legal action. Not because they thought I didn't have the right, but because they knew I did. I told them I'd think about it. If I ever decided to take legal action, they'd be the first to know. Then came Kate's messages. "You betrayed me, ruined my life. How could you do this to me?" I didn't respond. I read every word with a quiet smile on my face. Then I blocked her. I never heard from her again. I don't know exactly how bad things got for her. I heard through friends that she dropped out of school, lost her job, had a falling out with her family. I don't know if she and John stayed together. And frankly, I didn't care. She tried to destroy me with a lie. I destroyed her with the truth. 3 months after exposing Kate and sending his story into the world, the storyteller returned. This time, not to add more revenge or drama, but to answer a quieter question many readers had asked. Was he okay? Thank you all so much for the kind words of support. I honestly didn't expect the overwhelming response this story got. A lot of you have been concerned about my mental health, and I appreciate that more than I can say. So, to put your minds at ease, I've been seeing a therapist for the past 3 months. At first, I didn't even know what to say in those sessions. I'd sit on the couch and stare at the wall while the therapist waited for me to speak. But over time, the words started to come out. The pain, the confusion, the anger. I talked about Kate, about the betrayal, about the lies, about what it felt like to have my name dragged through the mud while staying silent for months. The best part, she never judged me. Not once. She didn't tell me to move on or let it go. She helped me understand that what I went through was real trauma, that my anxiety, my bitterness, my quiet rage, they weren't signs of weakness. They were signs of survival. With her help, I've been rebuilding myself. It's slow. There are days I still get angry, days I still look over my shoulder, days I wonder if I'll ever fully trust someone again. But I'm not where I was 3 months ago. Back then, I felt like I was barely hanging on. Now I feel like I'm starting to breathe again. I've picked up some hobbies. I've been spending more time outside. I even started reconnecting with friends I had shut out. It's not perfect and I'm not healed yet, but I'm working on it. And I think that matters. If you're reading this and you're going through something similar, please talk to someone. Even if you think you can't afford therapy or don't know where to start, just talking, just letting it out can make a world of difference. You're not weak for hurting. You're not broken for needing help. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I'm okay, or at least getting there. Thanks again for listening. For years passed in real life before the storyteller returned once more. But this time, his update wasn't about pain or revenge. It was about healing, love, and unexpected closure. After everything he endured, the life he rebuilt was finally one worth celebrating. It's been 4 years since I posted this, and I wanted to share some things that have happened since then. First off, therapy. I ended it around the 9-month mark. Not because it stopped working, but because it started feeling like I didn't need it anymore. I'd ask myself, why am I going in? And couldn't come up with a solid answer. I had been socializing more, developing friendships, crawling my way out of that isolating bubble. Eventually, I realized that my sessions were helping me less and draining my wallet more. That said, every once in a while, I still get the urge to shut the world out. That reclusive feeling sneaks up, but I've learned how to manage it. Sometimes all I need is an hour or two to dive into my hobbies: gunsmithing, electronics, anything hands-on. Creating things brings me peace, and I've gotten pretty good at it. I love showing off the projects I build. With that newfound sense of confidence, I took on more in the Army. I applied for leadership and auxiliary courses, which took me across the country. I got to see places I never would have seen on my own dime. Even left the country for military. Training with Allied forces? Through all of it, I met incredible people, friends who I now consider brothers and sisters. We still talk regularly, mostly through Discord, and they've helped shape who I am today. And then there's Jody. We met while I was traveling for training. First it was casual, just an easy conversation and good energy. But over time, that grew into something stronger. She lived about 500 kilometers away at the time, so most of our early relationship was long distance. I'd see her when I was posted near her area, and those visits always felt too short. Then one day she told me she was moving to my city. She'd found job opportunities nearby and wanted to be closer to me. We drove back together, and she found a place nearby. From that point on, everything just worked. We hung out more, made memories, and grew into something steady and beautiful. Last month, we celebrated 2 years together. She's been the calm in my storm, the person who listens, without trying to fix me, the one who never makes me feel like I'm too much. And I never felt the need to bring up my past with Kate. Not because I was hiding anything, but because it didn't define me anymore. I would occasionally joke about my evil ex, but that's as far as it ever went. Until recently, Jody likes sharing parts of her life online. She posted about our anniversary dinner. Nothing dramatic, just a photo of us smiling and laughing. But apparently, that photo showed up on someone else's feed. Kate, she recognized me immediately and sent me a message from a different account. At first it was polite. She said she wanted to talk, to reconcile the past. I declined, politely but firmly. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Kate then messaged Jody, said she wanted to talk woman to woman about me. Oh, Jody, bless her, came straight to me and showed me the message. She was confused but calm, just wanted to understand. That's when I told her everything. We sat down and I laid it all out. What happened, the lies, the accusations, the revenge. I even showed her the evidence. Thank God for Snapchat memories. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I wanted her to know who I was, what I had survived, and why this woman suddenly reaching out wasn't just an awkward blast from the past. She took it in, thought about it. And then she told me she loved me. Not only that, she told Kate off. She texted her back, letting her know that I had already said no, and that she didn't want to talk either. She shut the door in a way I never could have done alone. She protected me, even though I didn't ask her to. And in that moment, I realized something. I've spent so many years angry at Kate, angry at what she did, what she almost took from me. But none of that matters now. Not really, because I have something. She'd never touch a future that isn't defined by her. I don't know what Kate hoped to get from contacting us. Maybe she wanted closure. Maybe she wanted to twist the knife one last time. Or maybe she's just lost. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm finally free. And honestly, I think Jody deserves a ring after all this.
The case has been heard. The stories have been told. Now it's your turn to judge. Leave your verdict in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. The Court of Stories is always in session.